before you even speak. I mean, we all know this because just even me coming here live and you're scrolling and you're trying to figure out if this is an interesting conversation or not. You're trying to figure out if I match the energy that you want to hear right now. That's the reason why you have to understand that your energy introduces you before anything else. So the question is, what is your energy saying about you? What is it that you are knowing that maybe this isn't right? Because we all have this internal instinct. We know when something isn't right or wrong. We know when something is wrong. Now, some of us have an internal energy barometer that's been shaped by a lot of trauma. Some of us have not. But we all know that when someone enters the room and they don't have the right energy, we can feel that. And that's especially when it's people who are leading organization or they're your direct report, because there's a certain temperature that you're feeling to know if this is right or wrong. And I often say that the energy that you have is a direct reflection of the character that you carry in your life. Your energy is a direct reflection of your character that you carry around with you your entire life. How do I know that? Because growing up in trauma, I was hypersensitive about people. I could sense right away if I could trust them or not, but I didn't really realize that my trauma was causing me to be hypersensitive. We have this internal instinct because God gave it to us, because we are supposed to be able to sense fear. Now, I think God knew that when we first became humans, that we would have to be able to run away from something that might be attacking us or an animal, right? Because we were supposed to be able to go after those animals, and some of us were going to be attacked by them. But a lot of us live in this hypersensitive feeling often. And I really believe, as great leaders, as people who are trying to connect with people, we have to understand that the way in which we go into rooms, the way in which we show up impacts people, and especially people like myself who are hypersensitive to that. So, what do you do? What is it that you are supposed to do with your energy? Well, I believe that your energy that connects to your character is most felt. The way that you can deeply impact your energy is what you're doing behind the scenes matters most. See, some people think that I just have to show up a certain way. No, I believe what you have to do is look at what you are doing behind the scenes, because your character is what people are feeling. And you do agree that your character matters. Well, I'm saying that's a leading question. Your character matters. So, what you do behind the scenes, how you show up for yourself, how you speak to yourself, what type of thoughts that you have, what kinds of habits do you keep, how do you treat other people? All of that has a direct reflection on your character. Now, of course, we don't always get everything right, but my point is this: your daily practice, the way in which you show up behind the scenes, is the exact energy. That energy is exactly what people feel. The thing is I also believe that a lot of people will say that, oh, young people are so sensitive. They are so, why are they so sensitive? Well, they're just really aware of fakeness. Would you agree? Put in the comments if you know that's right. Because a lot of us have been showing up saying one thing, but we do another. And that, my friends, is what is the disconnect. It's because a lot of people aren't relating to that, because the energy that you're bringing is you're trying to put up a show. A lot of us are trying to show that we're so perfect and that we have everything together. And we show up on social so cleaned up, and we all can sense that. That's the difference between people who show up with great energy. This is the reason why a lot of leaders in corporate have a hard time connecting with people. This is exactly what's going on. How many of you can relate to that? Some say, I don't like corporate because, yeah, because they're busy playing corporate games and their energy is so flat. And that's because the character that they keep behind the scenes is off. So, this is why I say this again. I'm going to put this on the screen. Whether you are aware of it or not, the character is doing the same thing. Your character is what is the reflection of what you're doing. So, I want to ask you, how do you consistently speak to yourself? Do you show up for yourself? Do you say, when you say, I'm going to do something, do you actually do it? Or do you just pretend that you're doing it? You're saying, oh, I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to wake up at XYZ time and I'm going to be able to do my workout. I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to do my prayer, but you don't do that. You know what that says? It says that you say, oh, I can't trust myself. And therefore, you know what you internally think? Other people do the same thing. So you actually have this thought that other people don't do that because you don't do that for yourself. And the energy that you bring into that experience is that of a fakeness, that you're not who you say you are. And that energy vibrates out. And I only know that because this is something that I began to practice. I knew for myself, I saw my father and I saw the way that he would say these things and he would want us to do something, but he was exactly the opposite. And I said, I never wanted to be my dad. I never wanted to show up like that and be in front of other people what I wasn't to myself. And so I started to develop what I call a daily practice. And this daily practice, it says to me, okay, these are the things that I want to do. This is who I say I am. I'm going to make my yes a yes. I'm going to actually make my yes a heck yeah, right? A hell yeah and a hell no, because I want to have values. I want people to sense that I'm about what I say I'm about. I want people to know, not just by what I say, but what I do. And you know what I think is really awesome is Apple has this ability to be able to track your habits. When you show up on social, it knows what it is that you want. Why? Because it's tracking your habits. It's tracking what it is that you search for. And when you say, "Well, I don't like that, I'm not doing that," but your habits say the opposite, then you're not being true to yourself. So if you want to show up with great energy, you want to show up with this this vibration that actually attracts what it is that you want in your life, guess what you're going to have to do? Do that behind the scenes. And this is exactly what we talk about with our path to power, purpose, and connection. We have this path to power, purpose, and connection that we say that your character is the most important thing that we believe is what we are working on. And you just don't hear that nowadays. You don't hear people talk about character. It's as if we almost forgot the fact that we should be showing up with good character. I think people think it's like fluffy. They think it's too woo woo, or they think it's just not something that matters when it actually that's all that matters. I think also too we're seeing poor leadership in our government, we see poor leadership in corporate, we see poor leadership everywhere. And we think that's the norm, where in reality that should not be your norm. I'm calling foul, nasty, stinky, smelly, foul, FOUL in the smell, and FOUL as a clear, flagrant violation in leadership. I want us to realize that what you see happening in the world today and what you see in your corporate, don't stoop to that level. Stoop to the level. I want you to rise to the level of character and work on your behind the scenes practice. So, I want to give you some things to think about. I want to give you some steps to think about as it relates to your energy. And the first thing I want you to think about is, do you lie to yourself often? I mean, how honest with yourself are you? The second question is, do you really like yourself? I mean, honestly, do you like who you are? Do you like that? Because if you don't like yourself, that energy is showing up with other people. People will say things like, you show up and they, I don't know what it is, but there's just something off with that person. That something off is the fact that you don't like yourself. And those two questions, those two fundamental questions are key, right? And I also want to ask, like, how do you talk to yourself? I mean, honestly, most of us don't spend enough attention to how we are behind the scenes. We are so busy reacting to all the negative things going around us that we have no clue about who we are in difficult and good times because we're so busy trying to pay attention to everyone else and we're not paying attention to ourselves. And that is a tragedy. And that's the reason why your energy is off. And that is the reason why a lot of people's energy is off. So I want you to really spend some time thinking about, like, why don't you set your alarm for 10 a.m. and for 2? Set a notification for yourself. And what I would love you to do is I would love for you to check in with yourself. What are you thinking? What are you saying? How does it relate to your vision? Is this something that you would actually say to a friend? And oftentimes it's the answer is no, you would not. But if you had someone coming behind you saying, "Hey, why did you say that about yourself? Hey, why are you even thinking that? Hey, why are you even eating that? Because you said that you didn't want to eat that. Why are you actually going to that place because you know that doesn't bring you joy? Why do you keep saying yes to that situation when you know you want to say no?" And those are the things that I'm talking about. Why aren't you going for that promotion? Why aren't you going after that pay raise? Why aren't you going after that book that you said that you wanted to read? These are all the things that have everything to do with your character. This is a direct reflection of the energy that you keep. So, I guess you need to ask yourself, whoops, what, and my phone just fell. Hold on, y'all. What is your energy saying? What is your energy saying? It is the invisible, notice it's the invisible force that shapes your life. I 100% know this to be true. Your personality creates your personal reality. And the time that you say, I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to decide that today is the day that I want to do that, that is when everything changes. That's when everything shifts. The moment you decide that you are going to step forward and be the person that you say that you're going to be, not in front of people, but behind the scenes, and you start ordering your steps and ordering your life in that manner, everything changes. Everything changes. Now, the key is I want to be around those people. And I specifically serve corporate women who are really trying to step into that type of vibration and that type of energy in their corporate role. What I've come to realize, so many women, corporate women, are so tired that they're just like tapping out in corporate America because they just think, oh, what's the point? Why show up like this? And that's because they're letting their outside circumstances dictate how they're going to behave and the life that they want to achieve. If you would just take a moment to listen to me on this, because I think this is so interesting. I heard this from Myron Golden. I've been following Myron Golden a lot because I really believe he is one of the masters in talking about character and energy and how you show up. And one of the things that he says is that when people blame their outside circumstances, they become what he calls prey, 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 meaning that they are susceptible to all of the bad things that they think will happen. And that's not how we as humans have been designed. And let me break this down for you. So I want to tell you about circumstances. Circumstances is a compound word. Circumstances means circum, which is circle, right? And stance,